Hello students, today we are going to discuss about water resources in this video. First thing that we should keep in our mind that what kind of resource water is. So the type of resource, okay, so what type of resource water is? Then the answer would be a renewable resource. Water is a renewable resource. You can see on the screen there is an animation of water cycle, and what does water cycle demonstrate? What does water cycle says is that water keeps circulating between atmosphere and the earth's surface. Okay, it evaporates and goes into the atmosphere, then it becomes cloud, and then it comes on the ground in the form of rain or snowfall, etc. Okay, so water is a renewable resource. This is the first thing that we should keep in our mind. Next is that what proportion of earth is covered with water? Then it's 70% area of the earth is covered with water and 30% is covered with land. Okay, so water maximum area is covered with water. Water is abundantly available on the earth. Water is available, okay, but we'll talk about what quality of water, okay, on the next slide. Let's see the total water that is available on the earth. No doubt a lot of water is available on the earth, but most of the water are in oceans. 96.5% of water of whole earth is available in oceans, and the ocean water is what is saline. Okay, so the oceanic water is saline, salty. It means salty, and you cannot consume salt water directly. So it means that the usable water that can be used by the human being directly is very less, that is 2.5%, and that is known as fresh water. Okay, fresh water means the water that is not salty, and out of this fresh water 2.5%, most of the water, around 68.7 percent, is located in glaciers and ice caps. So we cannot even use this water because these are far away from the human habitation. Okay, and next is groundwater, 30.1%. we can use this, we use this groundwater, no doubt. Surface and other surface water like is 1.2%. and what are these? Surface and other fresh water like ground and ice and permafrost and lakes, rivers, soils, swamps, etc., and atmosphere. So look at the usable water that is available to human being that can be consumed by the human directly, okay, without much effort, without treating it. That is very less, okay, in comparison to what the total amount of water is available on the earth. So the key message of this diagram, of this slide, is that the water is available in abundant amount, but usable water, the water that can be used by the human being directly, is very less, is very scarce. Okay, so let's move on to our next topic, that is water use. Okay, what purposes, for what different kind of purposes we use water? First is domestic water use, second is agriculture, and third is industrial. So these are the three important groups of water use. Domestic water use, the water that we use at our home for different purposes like drinking, cooking, etc. In agriculture, we use water to irrigate plants, okay, to give water to the plants so that they can survive and we can have better crop. And in industries, they use water to clean raw materials, to cool down machines, and the final product like in steel industry, etc. So let's see the detailed use of water at domestic level. Like we use water for drinking, cooking, bathing, flushing, washing clothes and washing utensils, and gardening. And on an average, ठीक है, an Indian urban person, ठीक है, the person who is living in an urban area, in a town or cities, uses about 135 liters per day. ठीक है, 135 liters of water per day. So now we'll move on to our next topic, that is Reasons for shortages in fresh water supply. As we talked about in the previous slides, students, that the fresh water that is available to the human being is very less, is very low in amount. So as the demand of water is increasing, obviously there will be shortages in freshwater supply. As we can see here that how much demand has increased. In 1975, the consumption of water for human use was 3850 cubic kilometer per year, but it has increased to more than 6000 cubic kilometer per year in 2000. Look at, we have limited sources of water supply, okay, rivers, lakes, groundwater, whatever, and other few sources, but the population is increasing and their demand of water is increasing. So the increasing population is one of the most important factor that is causing shortages in freshwater supply, because increasing population increasing the demand for fresh water, but we are not able to increase our sources of fresh water. We are, on the other hand, destroying the freshwater sources. We are polluting the river, we are polluting the lakes, we are over exploiting the groundwater resources, etc. Okay, rising demand for food and cash crops. Okay, so it means that it is causing over exploitation of water for irrigation purposes. Okay, increasing urbanization, the people are getting more and more concentrated in an urban area, town and cities, and it is also increasing the demand of water tremendously. And fourth is rising standard of living. Okay, as the standard of living of people is increasing, it is also causing more demand in freshwater supply. Next is water pollution. We are also polluting the water sources, so like in rivers, like in lakes. So what is it doing? Water is available in the river, but we cannot use it because it's polluted. Like a simple example is of Yamuna in Delhi. Okay, the water is so much polluted in Yamuna that you cannot even think of going and even touching that water, because it's so much polluted. And leakages in water pipeline. Sometimes the pipeline through which we supply water, that also leaks and it wastes a lot of water. Okay, and sometimes our behavior is also a problem. Sometimes uh, we leave tap opened, and that wastes a lot of water. Okay, so we should be mindful in using water, and that we will discuss on the next slide. And here, that what methods and strategies that we can adopt to conserve water resources. So first thing, the wastewater treatment. The industries which generate a lot of waste material, and in urban areas a lot of waste is generated from domestic areas, from homes. So we should treat that waste and then we should release that water in the rivers, so it will reduce the pollution of the river, and so that those water can become more fit for the human consumption. Second is that rainwater harvesting. Okay, during the rain we can harvest this rainwater through this kind of structures. Okay, and we can store that in some tanks, and it also helps in the recharge of groundwater. We can use sprinkler irrigation. Okay, this kind of irrigation, this sprinkler irrigation, what does it do is that in less amount of water it irrigates almost all the agricultural field. And even more efficient irrigation is the use of drip irrigation or trickle irrigation. Okay, and what does it do? Drip irrigation means giving water to the roots of the plant. So look at here, this pipe is giving water just to the roots of the plants. Okay, just around the roots of the plants, so that water is not wasted. Okay, there is no plants here, so why should we give water around this place? Okay, so we should not give water around this place. Okay, plant is here, we should just give water to the plant and plant's root, okay, and around it, so that the use of water is very efficient, and in such way we can save water, we can conserve water, we can reduce the consumption amount of water. So these are the few strategies that we can adopt in our daily life, okay, so that water can be conserved. Apart from that, our own behavior, that we should be very mindful in using water. We should not waste water at any time. Okay, this is the simple newspaper cuttings. Next topic would be natural vegetation and wildlife. Okay, so in this video we'll end it here, that conservation of water resources. In this we discussed about water, what kind of resource water is. Water is a renewable resource, okay, and what proportion of earth is covered with water, that is 70%. And we also talked about that usable water, water that can be used by the human being, like fresh water, is very less in comparison to the total water that is available on the earth. So most of the water that is available on the earth is in oceans, and that is salty water, so that cannot be used by us directly. So the usable water is very less, and that's why we should be mindful in using water, and we should adopt some conservation methods through which we can conserve water and we can reduce the demand of fresh water. In the next video we'll discuss about natural vegetation and wildlife.